Okay, so I'm gonna make this video. This is my first video I've ever made. Don't know what I'm doing. I'm a musician just like everybody else is. All us musicians are the same, you know, it's like lots of time on our hands, not a lot of money, right? It's a common struggle. It's like you want to make really great recordings, but you can't afford to go into the studio every time you have a cool idea and spend $400 or $500 on hours, you know, putting down drum tracks. So today I want to show you how to get really solid drum sounds with a drum kit like this. So this is the Simmons SD100. I bought it because I'm not a drummer. I play guitar. I don't have thousands of extra dollars to spend buying like a really awesome DW kit. I'm just not good enough of a drummer to do that. Disclaimer, I am not a drummer. I'm showing you how to do a drum video here, but I'm not a drummer, so don't be too harsh on me for, you know, my inability to play drums. I've been an audio engineer for like 12 years now, just home recordings, worked in a couple studios when I was in college. I'm gonna show you a lot of tricks that I learned on how to make really huge sounding drums. That kit right there. The real hi-hats, because electronic hi-hats sound like shit, so I use real hi-hats and a microphone going into my M-Box. And then my M-Box actually works right into GarageBand, and in GarageBand I record a real audio track, the real microphone plugged into my M-Box. I can record the MIDI input through USB at the same time, and that way I'm able to get a real hi-hat with the electronic drums. So we're gonna get started on this video. Okay, so here are the two channels that I'm using. So it's a NoFX and then the Rock Band kit. The NoFX channel, the actual audio channel is highlighted. Down here using mono 1 input from my M-Box. M-Box down here. So the microphone that I'm using is actually a cheap piece of shit MXL, the 991. These are a custom Master Sound hi-hats. They sound incredible, really dig them. This is the SD100 from Simmons. It's 250 bucks. These are the D770 Pros. Okay, so like I said, I'm not the greatest drummer, so bear with me. Like I said, I'm a guitar player. But I thought it was important to show how to do this because, like everybody else, I'm poor. I can't afford to go into the studio. I can't afford a really nice drum kit. Doing this, the setup that I'm showing you, allows me to create really good sounding drums with this $250 kit. But how I'm going to show you to do this using Drumagog, you're going to take this kit and turn it into a huge sounding real kit. So I'm going to hit record over here, and I'm just going to play a couple of different beats. We'll sync them up in post. All right, here we go. Alright, so that's just a couple of simple beats to get us started. Get all that loaded into the computer, and I will show you how I break down the tracks, export them individually. Your crash, your ride, your snare, your kick, your toms. I load that into Pro Tools, go through drum replacement with Drumagog. I don't even remember how many years ago I bought that, but I bought it for $100. It's been an awesome, I've used it on real drums, I've used it on, like I said, on the electronic drums. So like I was saying, these are the tracks right here. So we have a lot of copies. We're going to start with the top one, and we're going to select this one note. I'm going to select one note because if you try to do it the first time, it'll just mess it up. So we'll delete that, and then we're going to delete all of them. And so you'll just go through each track individually and do this, and that is how you singled out the track. Okay, so as you can see here, I've gone through and separated out each individual track. We have our kick drum, a snare, crash, ride, and some toms. And then up here we have our real hi-hat. This is our real hi-hat up here. So each one of the channels is now separated out where we can export each individual one and load those into Pro Tools. Okay, so we are now going to go over here to our share. I've soloed the channel, so we're going to go up to share, export song to disk. Don't compress it, we don't want any compression. And we're gonna go hi-hat to desktop. save, and so it'll just do creating this mix down, and it'll send, and we'll do this for each individual track. Here we are with our GarageBand. We are going to close out of GarageBand. If you open Pro Tools while GarageBand is open and using the M box, it'll mess a lot of shit up. You don't want to do that. It'll cut your sample rates in half, mess up a lot of audio. I've had that screw up a couple songs. That's how I learned not to do that. So here on our desktop, we have all of our test files. So these right here are all going to be imported into Pro Tools. So it's really important, unplug the M-Box or whatever your device is before you open up Pro Tools. Like I said, it could mess up your sample rate. You don't want to do that. So we got our fresh new session. We're going to insert our stereo master fader first. We're just going to highlight all of these guys and drag them into Pro Tools. Boom. Shift them all forwards. They come in as stereo tracks. Come over here. We're going to split into mono. One of the sides will be stronger than the other one. So we're going to delete this track. Okay, so like I was saying, we're going to come over here and we're going to go split into mono. Okay, so the kick drums, they both look about the same. This purplish one down here looks like it's a bit stronger of a signal, so we'll go here, go up to the top, delete track. So we're going to just select that one. I hit the wrong button. We're going to go make it active, and then I like to shrink them down so I don't get them confused with actual tracks. Okay, so now that we have all of our tracks are here in Pro Tools now, so I've gone through left or right side, whichever one had the better audio source or the better signal. And now we're going to start using the drum replacement software. Here, kick test. So highlight that, go to track, new. We're going to create one mono, create. So we're going to change our input on our new to the bus. We're going to go with bus 1. We're going to put our output on our kick test to bus 1, output bus 1. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take the track through the plug-in into the new track and then record it. So we're going to, there's a special term for doing that, and I don't remember what it is. So what we're going to do is add in our plug-in, Drumagog 5. Like I said, this is something that you can do for really cheap. Like, this is a 2010 MacBook Pro. It still works perfect. I've had it since 2010. I bought it new in 2010. But you can pick up a used MacBook and put all this stuff into it for a lot cheaper than, you know, buying a brand new MacBook. Here is Drumagog. So we are doing snares. So we are going to solo our 2 channels that we are using, and we are going to go to kicks. Let's go with DW kick 1. I unfortunately don't have monitors. I wish I had monitors. I don't have the money to buy them. I spent the money that I was going to use to buy monitors to buy the hi-hats. I got these really awesome headphones, so these work really great, so I can hear it, but you can't. So okay, so I found a kick that I like in the bass drum collection on our Drumagog 5. So we are using our drum replacement Vox kicks, kick, Actro, Electromo, whatever. It has 5 different samples, so depending on the input volume, the waveform, it'll choose which kick to use so that you get more natural sounding. It's not just the same sound every time. It has a little bit of variance to it. That's what makes it sound more like a real kit instead of like the electronic drum kit. So we're doing this for every track. I don't do it with the crash and the ride. EQ those, compress those, and make them sound more natural. What we'll do is, now that we have that figured out, this input is going back to bus 1. Record, enable this track, window, transport. Gonna go record and hit our go button, and there we go. Okay, so now I think it's really important. We just finished putting down our first drum track, the kick drum track, with drum replacement software. There is latency. Won't line up perfectly, so you have to line them up. And then sometimes there's even more latency, not just in the kick lining up from the original kick. You'll line up, most of them will line up, but then a few of them will be just a hair off. It makes it sound really horrible. You can already start to see as you get closer and closer that the waveforms are not perfectly matched up. So we're going to drag this guy forward to be more on beat. So these are our 2 waveforms. Okay, so that's a really close fit. And then we'll scroll through and see if, okay, so the 3rd hit is already out. It's just a little bit off. So there's your original, there's your new one. Like I said, this isn't, well actually, now I'm saying this isn't perfect. They don't always line up. It's unfortunate. I really wish it wasn't, but the latency is the way it is. So you have to go in and actually physically move those hits so that it all lines up. Like I said, this is about saving money. So the only way you're going to save money is by putting the time into it. By doing it this way, you're going to save a ton of money because you can choose the same Drumagog samples each time you do the new recordings, and you can create the exact same sounding drums in every single track you do without going to the same studio, having the same engineer, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of recording time. This way you can actually do this in your bedroom. The money savings are good. I'm a cook. I work in a kitchen. I don't make shit for money, but I love music. I've been playing music since I was a little kid, and I've always liked having professional, high quality sounding recordings, and this is one of the tricks that I use to get the drums to sound that. So you have to spend the time to make it sound good, unless you have the money. If you have the money, fuck it, you know. I live in Seattle. There are so many recording studios. If I had the money to go in and spend, I would. I don't. I do this. Okay, so I'm going to fix this waveform. This is how I do this. So I'll delete a little portion. Actually, the best way to do it is to delete right here and come back a little ways, delete some more of it. And you'll line the box up, the little yellow box up with the waveform, the downshift in the waveform, come up here. Then you'll bring this forward, blend these two together, bring this one back. And then you want to go past the main hit so it doesn't sound too horrible, and then blend them back together. Okay, so I just finished going through and realigning the kick drum. Yeah, it takes some time. It's all about saving money. This is the original kick drum, and then this is the new kick drum. This is the electronic kick drum right here. And then this is the sampled Drumagog kick drum right here. There's also a train in the background. Yeah. So you can hear the difference. I'm actually going to keep both. You get a more roomy sound out of the replaced drum, but you get more oomph out of the electronic kick drum. And it doesn't sound horrible, it sounds like an electronic kick drum. So when you blend the two together, you get a really punchy kick drum sound in your mix. Now you gotta go through and do all of this for each of the drums, the snares, the tom, and cymbals, to get those to sound realistic. Okay, so as you can hear from the headphones, we got some gunshots going on. I live in downtown Renton. They're not real gunshots. So what we got going on here, snare drum. So I do two at one time. I duplicate the electronic snare hits, duplicate that, so you have two of them, and then send them in two separate audio channels. One is a direct snare hit, and the other one is a room hit. Both are out of Drumagog. It just helps when you're blending the whole kit together to sound like a real drum kit recorded in a real room. It helps make it sound like a real drum kit in a real room. So same thing though, you gotta go back, as you can already see right here to right here, there is latency. Sometimes it's easier than other times. Today it's actually been not as bad with the latency, so just gonna get on top of that. Okay, so I've finished doing all the Drumagog, getting each individual track through Drumagog into its own printed tracks. That's the word that I was looking for earlier, printed. So I'll show you real quick here. We're gonna hit play. And let's turn up some of this volume. Okay, so here is, we have the full kit that's muted. Then there's the crash, clipping really hard. So each individual track is done. Okay, so I'm gonna mix it, and then we'll go back to the first video and I'll show you how it sounds. Okay, so to explain exactly what we have done, I'll show you. So for our crash, we put on an EQ, and I just did a preset brighten cymbals, and then dropped the output gain. On our floor tom, same thing, just did a preset polished floor tom just to make it play happy. Our hi-hat, same thing, preset clean hi-hats, cut the lows out. On our rack tom, polish, 7-band rack tom polish. Didn't do any EQ on kick or on the snare. On our ride, I did a clean overhead 7-band, and then on the compressor, I did a steamroller compressor, and then I brought the threshold back across to about 30 instead of over here in the 40s. Okay, so to get the room tone, what I do is I create a room auxiliary and then put a stereo reverb. The deverb comes standard with Pro Tools. do a room, medium size, 0, 100%. That's where all the room tone comes from. The snare, the ride, all that puts a send into the room auxiliary. So the input is 1516, and then each one of these gets a send that is going into bus 1516. Okay, so that's how I get this $250 drum kit here to sound like a real drum kit. Now, I'm gonna go back to a longer version of the beginning of the video. There was me playing all those different beats. I'm gonna go back to that now and then splice in and out the processed version and the electronic drum version. So I hope you enjoy that. Thanks, guys. Okay, so some closing notes on this video, the drum replacements. So the $250 drum kit, yeah, it sounds, it's not really horrible, but it doesn't sound like real drums, and so that's why I do what I do. The only thing that I would change personally is the microphone setup on the hi-hat. So that's an MXL 991. It comes in, it's the MXL 990 991 kit. I bought that when I was 21 years old. I had no money then. I have no money now. So I've had that for 12 years. I don't really use it a lot. I had to use it in this application just because it's the only pencil condenser that I own. I would rather have an SM81. Neumann KM184 would be really nice, but I don't have $700 to spend on a microphone. You know, so that's the only thing I would change personally, is that microphone. The rest of it works really well for what I'm doing, and it makes the songs that I write and record personally sound a lot better. Because, you know, like I said, I'm not a great drummer, but doing it this way allows me to get really solid drum tone behind the guitar tracks, because I'm a guitar. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from this, and like, subscribe, watch my next video.